And welcome back to your Wiser Retire online setup, and we are on step 6B, how to actually set up your goals in your Wiser Retire online. Now I'm going to bring your attention to here, getting started. Now many of you are watching this because you have the free account. Some of you might have signed up for the data, the simple or the advanced data setup. What that is where our data experts will gather the information from you and they will set the entire program up for you. In addition, they will gather your goal sheets and then they will create your goals for you. Now we find that it's a good percentage of people, anywhere between 40 to 50% of the people will sign up originally under getting started for the paid members. They just don't want to deal with all of the learning process. They just want to get it done quickly. And then out of that 50 to 60% of people that actually want to set it up for themselves, we find a good percentage of those will then ask us to set it up for them. They'll get a third of the way through or half of the way through, and they just don't want to learn the whole system. They just want the end results. And so then they'll switch right over here to the getting started for paid members. Now, depending upon where you are in that stage, if you're in the accumulation stage or in the distribution stage, in either one of those stages, you can always click on any one of the green buttons and you can be taken down here to the free account, simple setup, advanced setup, or guided coaching. Now, as a matter of fact, when you're in the system itself, if you're halfway through setting it up yourself and you've just said, you know, enough is enough, I don't want to learn all this, I just want somebody else to do it for me, at any point in your session, in your learning, you can say, set me up for free, or set me up simple setup, set me up for advanced. The difference really is in the cost. It's based upon net worth, because obviously the higher the net worth, there's different tax things that we have to set up, different assets. There's just a lot more work if you have more assets. The good thing is you got more assets, but it takes a lot more work to manage it. Okay, let's move on to the setting up your goals in Wiser Retire. Now, originally in 6A, you had clicked on here's your goal sheet. You had downloaded the goal sheet. And let me bring that back into view here so you can see it. This is what you worked on during your last video tutorial. Now, you might have just jumped right into Wiser Retire Online Setup because you are very good at setting goals. You know exactly how the process works. Is you have to have a definite goal. It has to have a definite dollar amount. It has to have a definite time. It has to be realistic. You have to set a plan for it. If you're not the kind of person that knows how to do that, then the best thing to do is download the goal setting worksheet, fill them out. I'm just going to go off of the one that I had last time, and I want to review it really quickly. I outlined a new house in Hawaii, what the square footage was, the type of house it was, the characteristics of the house. Was it a want goal, need goal, the cost, the down payment, what it's going to cost me on a monthly basis, when I wanted that goal, and why I wanted that goal, and was it a worthy goal for me to focus my time on. And then I wrote in here, what is my current plan? Well, I said I got to do a little more research on what island it's going to be on, where it's going to be on the island, north, south, east, west, etc. But I also want to use Wiser Retire to test it within my plan. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. So I'm going to flip back to my Wiser Retire Online. Now you should have gone through the family profile, the income, the savings, the net worth, and finally the expenses. And we're on the final step before we get into creating the plan of, let me set my financial goals. Now, when you originally open the program, there are going to be some goals that are already set in here. You can either you can keep these in here, or you can remove them. Now, if you remember, we had a John Jr. in our example. We set up a goal for college education. We can set up any type of goal, and if the goal is not present on your screen, just click on add a goal, and you can even add on just other. Now, before we get started, I always get the question, what is the legacy goal and why does it really matter? Let me explain. If I leave a legacy goal of I want to leave at least $500,000 to my children, this is going to have a big impact on your entire plan. What do I mean? I'm saying that when you run your analysis and you run your plan and you run your what if scenarios, If you've said, I want to leave $500,000 by the age of life expectancy, so whatever you programmed in, and I think we put into here age 100 for John. Let me just go back and double check. Yeah, age 100, planning horizon is age 100. So if I put in $500,000, what that's going to do is it's going to force the system to say, you have to reduce your goals because you have to leave $500,000 there, and it's going to inflation rate it by whatever the amount of inflation is that you've decided within the system. So I'm going to warn you on this, and the reason I say this is in the 35 plus years that I've been doing this, originally I had a lot of World War II veterans that were coming to me, and in that era of they were the babies of the Depression. The goal was to leave a house, leave a large inheritance to the children. Well, that has changed starting in the right around the mid-2000s to 2010s. Now what we're seeing is people say, listen, I've educated my kids, I've provided for them. I either want to leave it to a charity, I want to spend it myself. And it's not this goal of making sure that you live as a pauper now so that your kids can live at a higher standard of living. I always say to people, listen, if you don't fly first class, your children will. So if you put in legacy as a goal, it is going to have an impact on your entire plan. So I'm going to leave that out for right now. I'm just going to delete it. I just wanted to show you that so that you're very careful of that. Now, remember, I did program in a lifestyle goal in a sense. If I go back into the net worth section, I've set up an RV, and I said current value is $100,000. The cost basis, I spent $125,000 on it. I assume that it's going to depreciate by 5% per year. And I said I want to sell that RV in 2027. Well, do I want to buy a new RV? Well, here's where we're going to do it. And then I'll show you exactly how we're going to put in those Hawaii goals. So lifestyle other goal might be something where I buy a new RV. And I'm going to base it upon the original RV that I bought of $125,000. And I want to buy that in 2027. And so I'm going to make sure that I put in, it's only going to last for 1 year. This is saying that it's a one-time expense of $125,000 versus it's going to happen every year for X number of years. Okay. So here we can program in if it's going to happen every year. That would be like a monthly payment, which we're going to see when we program the Hawaii house. Or it's in every other year. You might use every 5 years for, say, a home repair. I need to make X number of repairs. Every 10 years, maybe for a roof, for HVAC, for plumbing, whatever it might be. So you can see here we have the flexibility within the program to do whatever we want to do. In this particular case, it's a one-time lump sum, so I'm going to leave it at $125,000. That's in the year that I sell the other RV. So what's going to happen is in the program, and this is how intelligent the program is, it's going to take that RV that I originally programmed in. It's going to assume that it's worth $100,000 right now, and for the next 7 years, it's going to depreciate it by 5%. Whatever the value is at the end of that 7 years, it's going to sell the property. You see, I'm going to year of sale in the calendar year 2027. So if that's worth $75,000, it's going to bring $75,000 into the plan, and then that will be applied to my new purchase of the $125,000. That's genius. That's how life really works. All right, so let's get into retirement. We're going to talk about retirement. What age did I want to retire? 67. Do I want to specify a calendar month for retirement? No, not right now. I can get back into that at a later time. And then retirement. Expenses should reflect your average monthly expenses during retirement, exclusive of any other expenses you have entered, such as mortgage, debt, insurance. Well, you follow through that long video tutorial on expenses because that was the biggest thing I wanted to focus on. And if you remember back, we figured out after we went through the whole formula of taxes and fees, charitable giving, other expenses, self-employed health insurance, we netted out $4,000 a month in retirement. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and put this in here at $4,000 a month. I'm going to build my other goals upon that because that's what I'm used to living at right now. What's going to happen in retirement? Well, in retirement, you're going to see later on, you can go back and change this. You're going to have to make a decision, and that decision has to do with Medicare. Some of you are eligible for Medicare. Most people are. It's 90+%. But you have to make a decision. Are you just going to go with Part A and B, or are you going to go with the universal plan? The universal plan says you don't have to pay any more for your Medicare, and they're going to cover all of your expenses, except you have to abide by the HMO rules. In the Part A and B, and then you go buy a supplement, there's an additional cost for that. Those types of plans range from A through J, but again, for right now, when you see how we build the plan out, you're going to go ahead and be able to choose whatever plan you want, whether it's the lowest plan and they cover very little but the premiums are low, or you go all the way up to a J plan and they cover everything but the premiums are expensive. In this particular case, this would assume that they're going to go with the J plan. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to assume maybe midline, I'm going to go with, say, somewhere about a C, D, E, or F plan. These costs are going to start at the retirement. And if I click on here where it says detailed estimate or simple approach, so here's what's going to happen. If I click on detailed estimate, I can really drill down if I want to. Pre-Medicare is the time between when you retire and age 65 when you're eligible for Social Security. Now remember what we did though is we actually said in this particular case he is going to retire at age 67. He's going to get health insurance because he's paying for self-employed health insurance. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to zero this out because pre-Medicare we've already accounted for that expense in another area. So out of pocket, I'm going to leave that at $3,200. That's a reasonable number. And I'm going to zero the same out for Mary and leave the same out of pocket cost at $3,200. Now, let's go into long-term care costs because that was just health insurance costs. And what we're going to make an assumption of is that if John becomes disabled and he has to go into a nursing home or needs home care, the average is $78,000. Now, this is not going to put the expense into the actual plan until you get into the what-if testing. But go ahead and just put $78,000 into each spouse if there is two spouses. Now, when it asks, how long will this last? Well, I'm going to split the difference, and I'm going to put 6 years. Now, some people will argue with that, and they'll say that the federal government says use 3.3 years because that's the average time that a person spends in a nursing home. However, like most government statistics, they don't explain where they get those statistics from. The actuality of it is that the government uses a statistic of 3.3, and that includes hospitals, it includes long-term care facilities, and rehab facilities. So if a person gets a hip replacement and they go into a long-term care / rehab facility, and they're only in there for 3 or 4 weeks, that skews the actual numbers from the people that are in a long-term care facility for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. So we're gonna just say it's gonna be about 6 years to be safe when we run this testing. Okay, so now here's where we're going to have a little bit of fun. I'm going to show you just one goal. We can add college, we can add a new car, we can add taking extra vacations. You want that big Disney vacation, and here's what you can do. You can take that $15,000 giant vacation, and it's going to start, and you're going to take it every 5 years. So again, that's where you're going to put in the frequency of how often you want it, whether it's one time. Let me get rid of that goal. And let's go back to what we built in 6A video tutorial, which is we're going to buy a vacation home. Now let's go back and let's assume that we've done our research, and this little example that I gave of what is the dollar amount needed for your goal. Say I've got $900,000 to purchase that house. Is it a lump sum? If so, how much? I need $180,000 as a down payment. And then I have an income goal because I've got ongoing monthly expenses. When do I want it? 4, 22, 23, right? So we're going to use that goal sheet as the way we're going to build out this goal. Now remember, do I want to buy it in a joint? No, because that's going to cause probate. We're always going to buy houses in what? The family trust. When? I'm going to bump this up to when? 2023, right? And I'm going to put in here the annual insurance. And what was the estimate we made for the annual insurance? Oh, interestingly enough, I think when I corrected that, I did not. There we go. Let's go. This is property tax insurance. All right. So we put in there for $250 a month for property insurance. Let's convert that to an annual. We put $180,000, which was 20% of the purchase price, and we're going to use nice and low interest rates, which we have right now. And we want no early payoff. We want no sale. We're going to pass this on to the kids. We're going to put this up here at 5% annual property tax. We used at $4,800. And what is the term of the mortgage? So again, this is all about leveraging the dollar, so we're going to put 30 years. So now we've completed one goal. Again, I find it most helpful when people have completed this goal sheet, especially if you're hiring us to do it, because this way you can fill out a separate goal sheet for each of the goals, and when you get that to your data coach, you just give them the actual sheet. And this way they can program it all out for you. Now again, let's go back into the goals. You can put in college, car, vacation, wedding, property. You want to buy an investment property. If the positive income from the investment property is going to be above what the costs are, then that will show as a positive income coming into your plan. How much do you want to keep in cash reserves? Do you want to always have a certain amount of money that you never run out of, that you always have as a fallback? Okay, well that concludes 6B, how to set up your goals in Wiser Retire Online. Now you are actually ready to start building your plan and building your wealth journey and figuring out what you can do and set in stone or set in place your action plan to getting everything out of life that you ever wanted from having a sustainable and a solid financial wealth journey. We'll see you on the next video.